Now, Cora can hear when, like, my phone's charging. She hears the electricity and the charging.
Like when she has these on?
Like, well, like if we're like just sitting around and there's a charging block, it's like charging your phone. She can hear the humming of the electricity in the charging block.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's good hearing.
I know.
Like freaky.
Or like some sort of like people that get radio stations in their teeth. I don't know if that's real, but I've heard about it since I was a kid. Hold on.
Well, it's kind of weird because I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago, and this woman could basically smell diseases. So she had like this family history of like just always being able to smell like really
story?
well. Yes. Uh-huh. And like over in the UK, and like she noticed that her husband like just gave off this odor that he hadn't had before, like over years of time. And then finally they found out that it was like some kind of some kind of disease, and then she was basically used as a researcher to like sniff like I guess certain diseases are like cancer or something has some kind of odor, and it was really interesting.
I just finished this book about, I'm super fascinated by how much the Egyptians knew about medicine. It's quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's freaky.
Yeah.
We've been watching Ancient Aliens and like so learning about all of that stuff is really crazy.
I just finished this book. I just finished it today, but like part of the way through, it's like lectures. It's like a course. It's a great course, this book. But it's on Egypt. It's this Egyptologist. He's like super famous, I guess. Like I actually hit him up to be on the podcast. I haven't heard anything back. I hit him up like 2 different ways. His name's Bob Breyer. But I guess he's maybe too famous for the podcast. I don't know. But he is, come to find out, he's like a world-renowned Egyptologist. Like I kind of started getting that vibe when he's like, I've been to here, I've been to here, I've been to here, I've been to here, I've been to here. And I was just like, and then he's like a mummy specialist. He's worked on all these mummies. But he did sit this whole lecture on Egyptian medicine. But I've listened to several of the lectures 2 times because they're like 32 minutes long. Mm-hmm. It's so good. So good.
It's neat.
Yeah.
It's really neat. I wish I knew that much about that stuff.
Well,
how they came to like understand and know that.
It's crazy because I just got exposed to it in college, and then I like followed up on it, and then I started teaching about it because I was really interested in it even after I got out of college. Like Egyptology, it's always been a big interest for me. And Egyptology only been around since like 1822.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because of Napoleon and the Rosetta Stone.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Move this mic around however you need to.
Okay.
If you need to. It's pretty mobile. I'm about to have more stands like this. I just have to get them installed into the table. This is just clipped on. But it's less cluttered in here than it was, but it's I still haven't put up all my artwork, and people keep getting COVID. It's crazy.
Or having to quarantine.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't realize, like, how much people would have to quarantine. Like, I think I thought about, before college and stuff, about people getting, the cases rising and stuff, but I didn't think about how it would have to affect everybody else, anybody that you've come into contact with. So
if I was just quarantining, like, before, like, when we did the lockdown before, and it wouldn't have been as bad. I still did a podcast, like, every day, and I lectured, like, every day. But because I taught all my classes remotely.
Right.
But Cora was super sick. It was crazy.
Yeah.
She still can't. She'll keep eating something. She'll be like, I think I taste this. Do I taste it? She has no taste.
Well, I just was like, that has to be awful because, I mean, it basically becomes a chore at that point. Like, you're basically eating just because you have to. Like,
I know. I thought about that.
It's like not fun anymore.
Or smell. Like, either one.
Yes.
Wow, this thing is so crazy. Like, I think this is my theory as a YouTube virologist. Okay.
Okay.
All the YouTube videos I've watched since COVID's happened, I'm a virologist now.
Okay, I believe you.
But I think that it is similar in the flu and COVID both have some shared traits. Like 3 years ago when I got the flu, Cora took care of me. She didn't get the flu. Now, she said I had a man cold at first, but then she took care of me after like 24 hours when I had 105 fever for a really long time. Okay, but she didn't get it. Like, I had it bad. It was a bad, like, I've only had the flu maybe like 3 total times in my life, but it was bad.
Right.
And the body aches and stuff were real similar. But so there's that. Like, so I took care of her and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? A 2 negative test. But also, people are affected in different ways. Like Maynard from Tool, the band, he got it, and it just attacked his lungs primarily, and his wrist and hands got like rheumatoid arthritis in them.
Yeah, I've heard different stuff. I mean, like eyes being like affected and from
Cora got a weird rash on her fingers, like right there on the insides of her fingers, right?
It's freaky.
But so my theory is that there are different strains of COVID-19, and that the differences you see in symptoms, because you do see some shared symptoms. Like, I know somebody that had pretty much all the same symptoms as Cora at the same time, and I'm like, I bet you guys had the same strain.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody else that had it that's like, man, it's kind of like a head cold. I'm like, that's not what these people are reporting. Yeah. And then there's Maynard over there. It's like rheumatoid arthritis and just like really attacking his lungs. And I know age and there are many factors, but it's like my just basic observation the whole time. I'm like, those are some real standout, interesting points. Yeah,
I agree. And then, you see people like in their 50s and stuff, they're way more likely to get on ventilators and like be subject to stuff like that. And so it's just crazy. But I mean, when I learned about Cora, I was like, well, luckily, like, her immune system is probably better, and she, she works out, she does this.
Yeah,
like,
she was in shape.
Probably, it's if anybody's gonna have it, and
I thought for all of those reasons she would be way less effective than she was. And she was hit, like, I remember I was giving a lecture in here and she texted me and was like, I'm gonna have a hard time breathing, I don't know if I'm kind of just keeping it out. I was just like, whoa. Like, because it had just been escalating. But it's weird too, because she had a fever for 2 days, then it went away. But then she had other symptoms progressively getting worse. And then that was like day 4, no fever for like almost 2 days.
Right.
And then she's got this, and it's just like, and two, it would just come in waves.
Yeah.
Just hit her in waves. She'd feel good for a while, and then she'd feel terrible.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, I'm wondering if your different strains theory, because, I mean, I really could see where that could be the case. Like, I wonder if that has to do with after effects, too, because, like, a lot of people are learning, I guess, now about, oh my gosh, like, my body's still not fully recovered.
One of my students was just saying that this morning, that she had it and her mom had it, and like our whole household had it.
Yeah. It stresses me out. Or to think that my family could be, and that they live in like Pulaski, Saline, like they live and work there, so I really get scared about.
Yeah, just like high population density. Yeah. I'm sure that county's massively affected. I mean, I hadn't really followed the stats. I know Pulaski is.
I mean, it's bad. Like, it's bad there.
Yeah, that's, well, what do we do? Like,
don't know, because
duck and cover.
Because there's no accountability and no one will shut anything down, and so, I don't know. I guess I don't know, I feel like I've just noticed now, I mean, we're just adapting to a new normal, like it's not, I don't know that we'll go back.
A year from now, things will renormalize, right? I think this has gone on way longer than I thought it would initially, right? But I think that things will kind of level back out at a certain point, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think that things will like lax up in areas that we deem inconvenient, or like the things that people are upset about. I think like restaurant dining, but too, I think some things will never go away, like all the drive-in, dine-in, carry-out stuff that's accelerated those. I think there'll just be a rebalancing, and people will. I mean, I know I'm definitely doing. we were already doing Walmart pickup and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever pickup.
Mm-hmm.
I just need the meal places to deliver to my house. They don't want to do that. Like, I'm too far away.
I did DoorDash for a while, and honestly, I think delivery is kind of a scam. Because, it's just, you get charged so much for, you could... But if it's your...
My time, it's worth like $100 an hour.
Okay.
That's like...
It's worth it to you.
I don't, it kind of is. I hate just like... Even, it's like 7 minutes in town and out of town. So if I want to go to like Cracker Barrel or something.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, then it's like 20 minutes by the time I get back. I don't know.
Yeah. Once you do count everything in, it does take about 30 minutes to it feels like to do anything, so.
Yeah, definitely. I just, see, and that's kind of thing, it's like, I am way less willing to go sit down and eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we do more takeout, so I'm just like, can you drone this to my house? Maybe that'll be, we're too small of an area. In 30 years, after everybody else has drone delivery, we'll get
Yep. That's exactly right. And then who knows? The mayor will probably be like, I don't know. It's so unsafe. It's a scam.
It's too invasive in your privacy.
That's exactly right.
Have you seen...
Really skeptical.
Have you seen this? This is hilarious. It's like... It's from a Jimmy Kimmel bit.
No.
But it's Trump and Obama reading... or they're talking about... Obama's talking about killing bin Laden. Hold on. See if I can pump it into the mixer. That would be funny. I'm trying to pump it in the mixer. That's why it's not working. It's so funny because Obama's like, we had this operation, and he's like talking about it so articulately, and Trump goes, he died like a dog. And it just goes back and forth, and he's like, and God bless the United States of America. And Trump's like, and I'm writing a book. It's just like, but it's from a Kimmel skit, but it's like somebody made a reaction video out of it. But it is hilarious. I just keep rewatching it because it's like the contrast. And like Obama's such an articulate speaker, and Trump's like, he died like a dog.
I know. I don't, so I'm not a TikToker, but I'll see videos sometimes, so I'll watch them. And my favorite so far, I think, has to be, people who are doing, Trump audio, covers or something.
Yeah.
There was one, and these girls were, it was when they were doing all the rallies and, protests and stuff, and I guess Trump was saying, all of these protesters will throw cans of soup because it's, I don't know, it's just funny, and then they'll reenact it, and it's because it just shows how stupid.
Every good
sounds.
video I find, Cora's that's 6 months old on TikTok, and I'm like,
sorry.
She's like, yeah, your Facebook videos are just recycled TikTok videos that are old, and I was like, oh, I don't even have TikTok on my phone, so I can't. Joe Rogan talks shit about it, so I don't know if I should look into it.
Yeah, he's.
That dude's like the bro messiah. You
know?
If he says it's bad, it's probably bad. If I'm gonna listen to anybody, it might be him.
Okay, so I have a confession. He may kick me out of this room right now.
You've never listened to Joe Rogan's podcast?
No, I have. I've tried.
But you don't like it?
I can't do it. I really think it's more for men.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
I just can't. I think if I was a man, I really think I could get into it.
It kind of is. It depends. He does have some real diverse guests, but yesterday he had Roy Jones Jr. on. It's obviously he has tons of guests like that. That's why I tried to really, I reached a point where I'd done 50 podcasts, and it was all white dudes, and I was like, what am I doing? I gotta fucking diversify.
Yeah.
So I did. I started. It was kind of weird because I was doing it in my house. So I had this weird complex. I'm like, is it weird if I have women over here? It was just a weird thought because I was like, but I don't know, it wasn't at all. I had tons of women come do a podcast in the house. I don't know, at least 10. But now I've just got a real diverse, it's men, women, all ethnicities. I've had people from India, the UK, Brazil.
Yeah.
So it is, but it did take me a while to kind of get a nice, diverse background of people outside of my own network. I had to start, branching out,
Right.
which is part of the reason why I got into doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's get into this conversation. So,
Okay.
So this is a story that's been ongoing for how long? Like a year?
I mean, I guess for a year, but I mean, really, when it got traction was in, I would say, probably July, because she had told me that she had tried to get traction on this a year ago when it happened, and then it never went anywhere.
So where did the initial traction come from? Was it, who ran a story? Was it River Valley Now? Like what was it? Do you know?
I think so. I think they were the ones who had kind of picked it up, but really all theirs was whatever they could get from police reports and stuff like that. It was just basic information and photos, but yeah, and I think after that, and then their little RVNs, I guess, sublet, Sass and the Beard, has been kind of going over it, and then Kristen Foster had created the Justice for Tabitha.
Yeah, I saw that. That's that's good.
Yeah.
So this has just been dragging on. It's in Van Buren County, which is like Clinton, I guess, is where the investigation is based out of, I think.
I guess it's
I think it was Van Buren County, because I kept getting confused. I was thinking Greer's Ferry for a minute, but I don't think that's in Clyburn County.
Well, it is Greer's Ferry, but Greer's Ferry is
straddles
both
two counties.
Van Buren and Cleburne or
Cleburne, something like that.
And so anyway, there was like a lot of debate on like where it was actually gonna, who was actually gonna study it and investigate it. But then I was talking to somebody, and they were like, well, why wouldn't they just give it to the state police? Because if you're not sure, then normally the state police would take care of that. So I'm unsure why it was given to them, why it wasn't given to them.
And I will just go ahead and say this, like, based off of everything I've heard about this person that is being accused, Ray Black, and I don't know the guy, but just based off the other shit I've heard about him, I'm like, you're not really the kind of guy I want in my county government.
Yeah.
Like, you take this incident out of it, I'm still like, why are you a politician?
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that I just kept repeatedly thinking. I'm like, if we just went on all of the other the reports, even if it's just like all allegedly, it's like, dude, a whole bunch of people have bad things to say about you. You apparently are into partying a lot. Like, I get it. I get being a business owner. And, like, I've been screwed by the city government big time.
Right.
Like 20 stacks worth of being screwed. Like, while we moved over here. Like, forced from our neighborhood screwed. Like, I owned prime property, Corey and I did over there.
Right.
And it's like, well, you can't build here ever, or we're going to charge you out the ass. We're going to make you put a bike lane in and shit like that. So it's like, I get it. Like, my first thought was, I was like, I'll just run for government. Like, I'm just going to run. Like, I'll show you guys. But then I'm like, no. I can put out some of these podcasts, some of these videos I put out will reach thousands of people over their life, or just like when I release them. And it's like, I don't need that kind of support or platform. Like, what I need to do is just like use my education and background to raise awareness about things, which is kind of like why I was like, oh, well, this would be a good podcast to have.
Yeah.
Right. I had Wesley Foster on, which he's from my hometown, but he was the guy that organized the rally in Clarksville. Yeah. So this is good stuff that it's good content for the podcast, but it's conversations that need to be had. So you were going to write an article about all of this, right? There's about like the whole synthesis of everything that's gone on to this point. Is that what you were working on? Like, I don't really know.
Yes. So here's we got a new editor and at the paper, and previously.
How long ago? Sorry.
Maybe 3 weeks, month or so. I hadn't been working with him very long.
And he's new, yeah. Okay. And okay, yeah. Keep going, sorry.
Okay, you're good. Anyway, he has had a lot of experience, like all over the state. And so I kind of thought, honestly, when he came in, that we would be given more opportunities to hold people accountable, just because he had been in this for so long, and he didn't seem to be somebody who would feel threatened by that. I mean, I guess off of my own personal opinion. And so I thought when he had asked me to work on this story and to talk to Tabitha, that he really wanted to get into things, because I mean, there's a difference between, you know, a regular story explaining things and like there's just a difference. And so anyway, I talked to Tabitha. I did all that. I put in the work in. I was trying to find other sources to like back everything up. I interviewed Marilyn Sanders from the Child Advocacy Center, because I was like, I wonder how many people are actually held accountable for their actions. That would be really good to include in the story. I worked really hard. Yeah. And so anyway, it's Friday. Story goes out Saturday. And he comes up to me and he asks, hey, how's the story going? And I say, oh, it's going good. All I really need is the account from Lay Black, which honestly I was kind of putting off talking to him, just because it's weird having to interview somebody that you know you've just heard about all of these accounts. And so I had emailed, left a message, something, can't remember. And he had called my editor, because I guess my editor was the one who had interviewed him a few days before. And so I figured that's why I called him. And I don't know exactly what went on that phone call. I asked my editor if he had threatened a lawsuit. Editor said no.
Does he like advertise his business with the paper or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't deal with that, so I don't know. But I doubt it. Just because we're kind of, yeah.
Well, you know, I do know that there's a certain amount of that goes on, of like, you know, this is a transitional era for news. Mm-hmm. And so much of, I'm sure, what papers like that rely on to keep the lights on and pay the salaries of the people, or the wages of the people that work there. There's lots of advertising. There's lots of things that go into it,
right,
that revolve around these, I mean, for lack of a better way of describing it, these political relationships that you have with people in the community.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's just certain things that I would never say or do because of these relationships I have with these certain businesses.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So then apply that to like, and they don't even pay me. You know what I'm saying? But like, I just don't want to lose their support, and they don't want to lose my support, or whatever the relationship is. Like, it's like a mutual support. But it's like, this is a layer above that, or two layers above that, where it's like, yeah, well, these people pay to keep the lights on. And if they stop paying, we're going to be in for it.
Well, all I know is that after that phone call, we weren't allowed to use his name anymore, which doesn't make sense, because a few days prior we were perfectly fine to use it. But at the same time, I understand what you're saying. Like, I really believe that it was more of a business decision than anything, because it's not like we have FU money like Joe Rogan has. So, like, as far as advertising. So, No, I understand that. I understand that we don't want to go under. I mean, I wouldn't want them to go under, so. But it's just, but then you're disservicing all your readers and everything, because you don't tell the full story.
Yeah, I don't even, what I was thinking around all this, like, before getting together today, is like, with the like papers like this, I'm like, that's not even a place I would go for the news. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it is nice for like local news, and like we have a smaller town of like 26,000 people or whatever it is. But it's like, I don't know, I would rather have like the format or the forum be like this, like a podcast or a blog or an article that I'm reading on my phone.
Well, that's most people.
Yeah.
These days.
Like the fact that it's like, the paper delivery is still a thing, or that people like roll up the paper and put a rubber band around it and deliver it to your house in a little bag. Like, that blows my mind. I'm like, You guys are wasting those papers. Like, go paperless.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. It's just a weird concept to me in this era. And I get that there's a whole sect of people that are over 50 years old that's like they can't imagine any other way, or 60 years old. But I think we're going away from that, right? And I think that this is like the final vestige of people like these sorts of things. That's where I think all the censorship narrative is coming in. Is like that's the final vestige. It's like we got to maintain control of this narrative.
Yeah.
Where it's like quite literally, it's like I have a blog for the podcast. I haven't posted anything to it yet, but it's like I could post anything I want at any time, and you know what? No one can tell me what I can write.
Right.
And that's the way that it, within reason of, you know, doxing people and things like that. But it's like using this guy's name is not doxing him, you know.
No.
So yeah, and people can. I'm sure he probably has an attorney that's sending cease and desist orders to people.
Yeah.
Also, right? I mean,
I don't know about that.
that's what I would. That's what I would estimate.
Assume he's lawyered up.
Yeah, I mean, I would. This is a terrible story, and it is. It's unfortunate for all involved. It's like everybody that's affected, like all the constituents of this guy's district in Russellville are affected, right, by his life choices.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, did you make life choices, and then you want to be a leader of these people, a representative of these people? It's like,
Yeah.
you think that your demographic, like the message you're sending to the demographic that's like 25 and under, and then the message you're sending to the demographic that you're supposed to be representing that are like 50 and older. You know, I don't know. I just think it's poor leadership, 100%. To even for this to even be something that we're like, you just don't be in that situation,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to be in the public eye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, so I don't know for sure. But when I had, after kind of all this happened, I realized something that somebody had, a good friend had told me once, and that had worked at Brick Oven, and just were telling me things that had happened, like over around that area, you know, because it's right
Yeah.
post,
Yeah,
so you're good. So yeah, it kind of triggered that memories, and that's kind of shady.
Yeah, that's the thing is I've read a few other accounts of people that've had internet. I just, you know, you people that are in the public eye, you hear a lot about them, right?
Right.
It's like when only things you hear about them are bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what happened after? So you get pretty much. You have to edit his name out of the story. What else happens after that?
Well, I'm talking to the editor, and first, this is the impression I got, although he could have meant something completely different, and I just misunderstood. He started talking to me about how he kind of really wanted a story that was more like, not featurey, or he was asking me to ask her basically what she had learned from this experience and what advice she'd give to people in this situation. And okay, and I know that nobody, you know, like only like somebody who would work in this field, I guess, would. Okay, sorry, I got off track, but I just realized, like, those were the types of questions I would ask somebody if they had won an award or if they had given a donation or something. Those are the questions.
They were
like
a victim of possible sexual assault.
Those would not be questions I would ask a victim of sexual assault.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, I guess, what he was wanting, but it clearly, I guess, was different than what I had.
So he took, I guess, a portion of what you wrote.
Yes.
And wrote kind of like his own opinion, as like an op-ed. Was it that him that did that?
Yes, he did write a column.
Protesters and mob violence. And,
yes, that
like,
was. I didn't see that until after it was released.
When I read that, I was like, I don't know. I didn't know who had written it at the time, but I thought it was grotesque,
It
to
was.
say the least.
It
I don't
was.
want to. I just don't personally attack that person. But
Well, it's just funny to me that I'm not allowed to stand up for myself, but he's allowed to get involved in local issues like that. Because honestly, something I prided myself on was that I didn't get into like opinions of the things I was writing about. Like I may say, "Oh, Trump sucks," but I'm not writing about Trump, so it doesn't reflect my work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just, and especially for him to be new in this community and like write something like that, I didn't really think that was appropriate. But he is the editor and he can do what he wants, so it's his perspective. So.
Well, that gets back into my thing. Like anytime, so that guy's in a leadership position, just like this other guy is in a leadership position. And that just comes, I deal with people in leadership positions at my other job. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and I just see, like, I read and consume a lot of books on leadership also. And like, I can just like spot bad leadership and how cancerous it is to like the whole team, but anyway, on that note, it's like, I just hate, like, this is the type of bad negative effects it can have, right?
Yeah.
It's poor leadership, whether that's in the county government or whether that's at in the press. Like,
yeah.
We already dealt with that in this community previously. Mm-hmm. When it was River Valley Leader.
Yeah.
Right? Back before the freaking crazy murder-suicide of the dude that owned that paper.
Right.
Like, anyway. So, your story gets cut down. He releases an op-ed of basically your story. It includes some of your story in it, right? In his op-ed?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it.
There were two articles I read, and it seemed like they were very similar. Mm-hmm. And I thought that they both had the same beginning, but I could be wrong. But I could be totally wrong. But I was reading these articles, and then I saw you made a status about just the whole thing, and I've been following it. And Cora knew about it before I did because she had friends that had knew about it, and like it kind of tipped her off, like, hey, don't go over there and do business.
Yeah.
So. But I'm happy about the level of awareness that's being raised. It's unfortunate. So, like, what happened after you made this status about the article you couldn't release in the way that you wanted to release it, rather?
So, after that, not much. I don't know. I went through with the post not thinking that I wouldn't be fired for it. I really honestly thought when I was saying, like, the Courier doesn't hold people accountable because of advertising, because that was true. Like, that was the opinion I had formed, or the impression I had gotten from.
Oh, that's a huge.
So,
that's where else do they make money?
Exactly. So, there are printing press, but that's neither here nor there. We're losing money from that. So
Napoleon had a printing press on his boat. I'm not impressed.
Okay. Well, anyway. I go in Monday morning, and basically I was let go for making that post. They said, I guess if I had just not used my employer's name, which in hindsight shouldn't have, I guess, insulted them when I was employed by them, but I didn't really think of it like that. I just thought I was just giving people, this is why we don't do that, Or they didn't do that.
And I don't know if it was a Courier or River Valley Leader at the time, but like, I was just like panning through, and it's both of them. I was just panning through all of the things that had been ran as feature stories or on the front page of the paper. Like, for example, I know someone who it's a very close family friend, and it's one of their children who's a grown adult, right? But it's one of their kids. And they got into like some trouble with drugs and had a low point, but like really turned their life around in hindsight. It was like a couple years where they were like really struggling. They got in trouble. They went to jail, went through drug court when they got out of jail, rehab, all these things. They were like really turned their life around. It's great. But it's like they ran this picture of this person on the front page, like looking like all strung out and fucked up. But when Judge Bourne ran through that roadblock, They ran a picture of that dude in his robes. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's wrong. It's wrong for anyone to get special treatment because of their position, because they're in a leadership position, right? Which is what this dude's getting.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get any fair treatment around here, right? Or any special. He'll get fair treatment. He won't get special treatment.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's special treatment to say, I shouldn't have to. It's like, for me, the burden of a leader is higher to consent to the types of things
Oh, for sure.
that we're talking about.
I mean, that's the whole point of journalism in general, is to hold elected officials accountable, and people who need to be held accountable for their actions. So it's frustrating to me. And somebody had told me this too when I was talking to them about everything. They had said, it's just crazy that you got fired for actually being a journalist. And I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate, because I know that's what you're going, like, you're getting a journalism degree, right?
Yeah.
You think you're going to go to graduate school?
I doubt it.
You should just go. I'm telling you right now.
But like, for what, like.
Well, maybe you could become Billy Reeder. He only has a master's degree.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know that.
Andy's a pirate. And he made me a custom leather field journal.
For $50.
Thanks, Billy.
Awesome.
Yeah. I bet I could have been like, Billy, I'm teaching you free martial arts and you're giving me this. And he would have said yes. But I gave him $50 because I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks good too. It's in my bag over there somewhere. But, well, so it's unfortunate because you were getting valuable field experience in a field that you may become more involved in. But I would say that, like, the future is not in that kind of media.
Yeah, I don't really know what the future. I mean, I thought I could be a journalist forever. Like, it wouldn't be a big deal. I knew the money kind of sucked, but I mean, I love to do it. So, it's my passion. So whatever. But nearing the end of my graduation, and I mean, I couldn't live off that. And then I see so many, like, colleagues and stuff that have gotten laid off or furloughed. Even one of my coworkers had gotten furloughed and laid off due to pandemic stuff. So, I mean, I feel like this is a sign that maybe I wasn't meant to work in journalism forever. But it's okay. I mean, I want a chance to be a human and learn things, and I don't know. I'm naturally curious about a lot of things, so I'm not that worried.
You could still do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I was, before I got on the current trajectory that I'm on now, I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, I think, older than you are now.
Yeah.
So, that's like everything I've accomplished to this studio we're sitting in is just been in that 2-year span.
Yeah.
Like, at 21 years old, I was being a fucking loser, man. I was just not making any life choices, and then the ones I was making were not good. I mean, they weren't terrible, but they were just not thought out. I was just like, didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know what I wanted to be, and didn't really have a lot of support behind me of like, go try things, go take history classes, and maybe you will decide you want to be a historian, or maybe you don't. That's okay. Like, that's the sort of advice I give people. Is I do advising now. As a part of my job at the college, and it's like that's what advising is. It's not putting someone in a class. It's like, hey, here's my take on things.
Yeah.
And I can give the context of what I have going on outside of here too, because everything I'm involved in, everybody told me would not be successful.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whatever, But it took me to like 23 years old before I had like a mental shift where I was like that, where I was like, it doesn't matter what you think about me getting a master's degree in history. I'm doing, like, I have like the best case scenario of a job I could get doing that without a PhD. I have that.
Yeah.
So, but then too, it's like weird to think about that I worked like 5 years having a master's degree just at the gym, didn't do anything with history,
Yeah.
But you got some, you may start getting life experience throughout the rest of your 20s that you just do something totally different. Who knows?
Yeah.
Or something related. That's like, it makes a lot of sense. I got into podcasting in hindsight because I was doing this kind of stuff at the college. I was filming and like filming professors and events and the art gallery and whatever like they wanted filmed. I would typically be the person that filmed it for the Arts and Humanities College. So it made a lot of sense that I got into podcasts. I made a documentary. But
Yeah.
I think I want to see more forms of media like that locally, right? I'm just not into, I want all the stuff to be streamed. I don't want to have to go to any of it. I want to be able to watch it after I get out of here.
Right.
Because me going to a city meeting means me not making a living. Because they hold them at a time where I have to be right here.
Right.
And it's like, unless they're voting on my property, which they've done twice without notifying me, I want to be there, right? Or if they're not voting on my property, I don't want to be there.
Right.
But I do want to know what's going on. And it's just like, that's just a new thing. Like all of this stuff that we're talking about. And I think that nationally and internationally, we're in this digital shift. But I think just like everything else, the South and Arkansas is going to lag behind.
Yeah.
We don't even have like my friend, they repaved their road and his internet didn't work for like 10 days. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, so and it's like they are kind of rural, and their kid goes to school and is doing all of these digital assignments. I'm just like, what a crazy problem.
Yeah.
That like you would not have in you would have it in other places, but it's just like I don't know. Internet just needs to be, I don't want to say a basic right, but it is. For the world we're living in
Now, yeah.
and for you to not, I don't know, there's people that can use Google, they're still super ignorant. So like some of my students, I'm just like, you could have Googled that. I'm like, hold on, let me Google it for you. Anyway.
Yeah.
So so where are we at with this story? Like, what did you find during your investigation?
Well, not as much as I had hoped. I feel like everything I guess I had was probably stuff everybody had seen on social media already. But the thing is that things can have more impact in print, like a form. So if somebody, if people hadn't been on Facebook and hadn't been following it,
that demographic
then,
I was talking about,
then they would be able to read that and know, like, well, crap, this guy's on. I mean, this is not good. So, I mean, when you put things together,
yeah, that's kind of the vibe. That's what I was saying. I was like, you even take that story about there's enough other bad stuff that people are saying about this guy. I'm like, and he's a quorum court member?
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, the best analogy somebody, I heard a while back used to explain the quorum court, and I've heard this before. I want to say Housek uses it. But it's like, it's the city council person for the county, And then too, like county judges, it's like, they don't hear cases. They're like the mayor of the county, which is real interesting. Like when you think about it in that capacity, which is an important role.
Yeah.
Yeah, it irritates me. There's a guy running for quorum court out in my district, and I was like, I don't agree. Like, I don't. He's got signs everywhere, and I'm like, I don't know you. I don't know what you stand for. You would think that you would cue in on who I am and maybe come talk to me. I've seen you out politicking. It's just weird. I'm like, and I've watched some of his videos. Cora's like, I'm not voting for that dude. But it's it's weird. His signs are everywhere, and it's like, you've made zero effort to connect with me, and I'm your constituent, and I want to say that I'm an important constituent because of who I am in the community.
Yeah.
Right? Just owning a business. It doesn't matter who I am, anything like that, other than I'm a business owner in the community.
Right.
And I'm a constituency in your district.
Mm-hmm.
That's, if I was running for quorum court, those would be some of the first people I would seek out.
Right.
Because they're people that are massively affected by every decision that the city makes.
Yeah.
So,
for
especially if they're
sure.
on property.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off.
You're good.
So you synthesized everything together, which is what I was thinking
Basically.
we were going to see, and then I saw you make this post that said it wasn't coming out, and what are you gonna do from here on? You know.
Well, don't really know. I gave this story to someone who's interested in like publishing it somewhere else, so I let them have that, you know, whatever. So maybe it'll get published somewhere else, but
Yeah.
but I mean, even the thing that's really sad is that, you know, I wrote the story and like put everything together, and I still think there's so much more reporting that should be done that just can't be done.
Is he cooperating with any of the reporters, or where do you know anything about the police investigation, with where that's at? Like,
Well, it was still open as of Friday. The only thing I could really gather was that something to do with probable cause was holding it up. But, I mean, you know, if the case was here, it just...
Like they basically didn't have probable cause to issue a warrant for his DNA?
Something like that, I don't
Probably.
know.
That seems to be the big thing, is he refuses to consent to DNA. It's like, dude, if you're innocent, you just like consent to your DNA. But it's like,
Yeah.
but then, okay, let's say he does that, and it's like, oh, that is your DNA. Then he could just say it was consensual, or let's say he says it's consensual. It's like, then it doesn't progress for another year. And it just, I could see it being a long and drawn out thing.
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate that it's playing out this way for this victim, and that this is, I feel like, a pretty common way the wheels of justice turn for people in this situation.
Well, it is, and something that I've thought about is this case here is kind of representative, kind of like Brett Kavanaugh was. You know, it's kind of like the local case here, that it just makes me think, well, if this can't be, like, you know, you didn't have to be there to know what went on, and so,
Well, that's
I mean...
why, I think that's why he won't consent. Even if it was, let's say, and I'm not saying that I think this, but let's say if it was consensual, and he
Yeah.
submits his DNA voluntarily, or he gets
warrant served or whatever.
warrant served for it, and it's his, and then he says it's consensual. It's like, that makes him look bad too. That makes him look really bad, because I mean, he's a business owner, he's married, kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
I
it
don't
makes
know.
him look terrible as a community leader, etc.
It does, but at the same time, if he said, like, if that happened and he said it was consensual, then that opens up a whole new can of worms and makes it even harder. Because I was asking about that. Like, I was asking about how likely is it that offenders get, because, I mean, at the center, they'll follow these cases, you know, until they're finished, and most of the time, the offender is not held accountable, and so... It just sucks. Like, it sucks that this system is so based on you have to have a good witness, even though it's so normal to misremember things when you've been under,
I know.
you know, stuff like this. And if you are blacking out, like...
Let's talk about the victim shaming for a moment, if
Yeah.
we can. Like,
Okay.
that's one thing. It's like...
That was one thing that was really important to me in the story, is that, like, I laid that out because I just was like, you know, I need people to know... Like, one of the things I really thought about was how much she had to drink and, like, take. Because you have to, because everybody, I mean, I hate that this is true, but everybody knows that, I mean, if you're drinking, if you were doing anything like that, it's like, it almost discredits your case, even if you remember everything.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find out. I mean, I'm about the same weight as her. I'm about the same height as her. And I was thinking, you know, I've had 4 beers and 2 shots of whiskey over the course of a few hours, and I have not experienced blacking out, like, which I know that she might be different than I am, but I mean...
Wasn't she on
come
MDMA
on.
as well? Did I read that, or was that true or false? Do you know?
0.01 gram of MDMA. And I don't know how much that is, but, I mean, she had taken it before, like, so she knew the effects of it. And, I mean, I was trying to find an official source to say, okay, if this is how much you have, would this actually happen? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find an official source for that, but because, you know, nobody can.
Go to the Widespread Panic group on Facebook and ask them. They'll know.
Okay.
A bunch of whoops in
Okay.
there. I know a couple of people that would have an opinion on that.
But I mean, I just was like, I can't get a drug dealer or something like that to be like, to go on record like, hey, can you?
Well, yeah. Well, so like that is a certain type of I don't know if party drug is the best way to describe it. That adds a level of like oh man, it just makes it look bad. It does, like all of that, and like that I could see that leading to the victim shaming, but I'm not agreeing with it or condoning it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. It shouldn't matter what you're drinking, what you're wearing, but unfortunately, that's what you have to look at.
Isn't it crazy? I notice this more and more, like the older I get, but like. I started noticing it like when Corey and I first got together, like about how much men objectify women. Like it really blows my mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like about like nobody is ever gonna like holler at me. Like what a Southern way. If anybody that is out of the side of the South is listening, I don't know if you guys say things like holler, but yeah, like people would be shouting at Corey on campus. Like, hey, yo, pink pants. I'm just like, I'm walking with her. She's my girlfriend. Like, what are you doing talking to her like that? But it's just like I've noticed that over the years. But I mean, it is like locker room talk, whatever. Like how much that Trump story got dismissed by Republicans. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
yeah.
Anyway. Well, so what else did you uncover with the story that stood out to you? Like, what were some other things in the article that you were saying and alluding to? That
So, I did want to mention this because it is hearsay, but I mean, I trust it just because it came from her, and obviously, if this had happened, you would know about it. So she said that he had been calling her friends and anybody who had been in support of her and like trying to get them fired or like something like that. I also obtained text messages that she had, and it was between Mr. Black and I don't know who else. I don't think it was her specifically, but it was like, I guess, his account of what had happened. Mm-hmm. And I think this is really important. Okay, so all this person had asked in text messaging was, how does she have road rash? He says, I have no clue. She threw herself all around the boat, dock, parking lot, at the RV, and in her car. Then, he says, do not ask me another question like that. Then he says she kicked, flopped around like a fish, kicked and rolled all over the boat, took her clothes off, defecated, bit someone that was there, threw herself from the boat, flopped around like a rag doll, flopped in the truck, ran around the RV. I mean, very repetitive. And then finally he says, don't come at me like we hurt her. And then I think he says again somewhere in the text, like...
And this is a young, young college-age employee of this man that's like 40-something years old, right? Yes, and all this person had asked was, how does she have road rash? And he was that defensive about it in the text. Like, that, I don't know about it. I mean, that's my personal opinion, is that just sounds very overly defensive for some reason. I could be wrong, but, I mean, all they had asked was, how does she have road rash? And he was like, do not come at me like we hurt her. Okay. Okay. And you talked to the victim during this whole process a few times, one time?
Twice, yes. And then text messages, yeah.
Yeah, and so can you tell us what her account of the story was, just for, like, I mean, it
sure.
You know.
Okay. So I'll pull up, because I want to make sure that I'm attributing and everything.
I mean, because I've read some quotes and things from her in some different articles and things online. Mm-hmm. But It is. I mean, there's several sides of this. There's the former employees. There's the accused. There's the victim. Who, like, those photos, if you see those photos, like, I don't see how anyone could do that to themselves. I really don't.
I don't either. And
Like,
there was a
that's the
cigarette burn
thing.
on her left thigh. Like, did she do that to her? I mean, that was...
What is it? And some people are just sadists. Some people are sociopaths. Like, I was talking about slavery in Arkansas today, and I was just like, well, let's start from the point of view that some plantation owners were sadists, right? And then work from there. And when we talk about this stuff, we go ahead.
Okay. So, so I wrote that she was bruised, allegedly drugged, sexually and physically assaulted, and then she was left in a car without clothes for like 2 hours on a night that was supposed to be a birthday celebration for a friend. She remembered, the only time she remembers being awake is when she was on the boat. And even then, one of her friends was like trying to get her awake and getting her to try and skinny dip like in the middle of the night. But she was just begging, like crying to go home. And this was after she had already blacked out and everything. But I explained that she had, over a course of a few hours, she had had 4 beers, 2 shots of whiskey, remembers taking a capsule of MDMA. In a toxicology report, that was what was found in her system, marijuana and MDA. However, there was not a test done to conduct for date rape drugs, prescription
That's what I want to know, if
drugs.
she's been roofied.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you had read the article as how it was supposed to, it would have said, that that's basically what she believes happened to her, and I could see that being possible. So,
that Cardi B song, that's about date raping too. Okay, Cardi. It's not the song, but Cardi B talked about like date raping dudes. Cardi B did. She did.
When? I don't follow like celebrities.
Yeah, I don't
and
either.
stuff,
But
so.
damn, that song is like. I'm not saying it's good. I don't listen to it.
Yeah.
But damn, it's so dirty. Like, but like it's the most popular song right now. I guess the WAP song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
But anyway, but why I bring that up is not because of the WAP song. Okay. But Cardi B, like why people are being critical of Cardi B is that she wrote that song and that she made this joke about date raping guys.
Yeah.
And like putting stuff in their drink and then taking their money.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. It does. Well, and that brings up an important point that while most of the time this is going to be dudes doing this sort of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
There are those outliers of like, you did what?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe she thought she would get a pass because she's I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that I do think there are some women who just think that just because they're a woman, they can do that. I mean, I've been binge watching New Girl, and so anyway, one of the episodes then was I don't know if you've seen it, but he's this one dude is the only guy in the office. Everybody else is a female, and so he's basically forced into like being sexy Santa and like like doing all these like really sexist things at work. And I mean, so it kind of reminded me of that too. Like even when I was watching it, I was like, yeah, that it's shitty that women think that they can do that too, because it doesn't feel good either way. I mean, so it's not good. So
she feels like she's been roofied. What else did she say that stood out to you?
Well, I mean, she didn't say this, but one thing that did stand out to me in the police reports was that she had told one of the investigators that Ray had wanted to sleep with her, but she had turned him down, and he was mad about it, and everybody else had known that he had, and I just think that's important because typically I feel like in cases like this, I mean, there's been harassment before. Like, this is not the first thing that men would think to do who are, I just think that's important because normally there's accounts before leading up to that. And so, yeah. The final thing that I think was really important that the courier ended up chopping was this direct quote, and she says, "Before this all happened, I always believed that if anything would happen to me, I would be the type of victim that the police would give a shit about. But then you come to find out that it's up against a man like that. Nobody cares. His space and his good name is worth more than the mental illnesses that I have to suffer from this. And they just don't care, and it's devastating." And to me, that was really important, especially in print, because, I mean, oh my gosh, like, I mean, for me as a woman, which, you know, looking back on it now, I feel like I should have never been. I understand why he had assigned me to write that story, just because, I mean, I am a woman, and it would be better, I guess, for me to talk to her than one of my coworkers who wouldn't understand as much. I mean, I'm sure they could learn, but honestly, I mean, I don't think I could understand what a man goes through, and I don't think a man could understand what women go through, so fully understand. So, you know, maybe it wasn't the best for me to work on it just because, you know, I am a woman and I have friends that, I mean, it happens to so many people I know.
I think women would open up to you more. I know that sounds maybe
no,
sexist
I know,
or
and I agree. I agree.
Back on the slavery in Arkansas topic, we had these slave narratives. But it's like, how much do you think these former slaves in the 1930s were opening up to these white interviewers?
I don't know.
During the height of the rise of the second.
Well,
KKK.
would interviewers even go out to them? Because I'm sure it would be strictly.
As a part of the New Deal project.
Okay.
We do have these slave narratives they're a great source, but they're a great source. But we're like, well, some of them would not open up to you.
Yeah.
They were just being like real like evasive or one-word responses, or just, you could tell they weren't being candid with the interviewers. And that's because it's like you even hear the interviewers talk about it. It's like they couldn't empathize.
Yeah.
Right? Just so it's like, and that's I think the importance there with what you're saying is that it would have been better to have you for that reason. And then too, particularly I think in a scenario where it's like, with what happened to this person and then being beaten or and abused and battered like that, if a male did that, which that's what the accusation is, I wouldn't want to be interviewed by a male. I wouldn't want to be around males for a long time if that happened to me. You know what I'm saying? Which in two, I could say, like, I will say, like, if that was a guy that had been like molested or sexually assaulted by a female, like, they would experience the same thing if it was a true case of that, right? Like, this has happened. I've read stories of it happened to teenagers and stuff like that. It's like they grow up with issues. Yeah. And anyway.
But yeah. But I don't know. It does just lead. I mean, I agree. I mean, I should have. I mean, there was no one else, I guess, who would have been able to. But I do feel like maybe I would have been more tempted to be more biased because, I mean, I really am like someone who's like most of the time believes the victim and like is always very like, this is unfair. Like,
well, and this is mostly there are outlier cases, but there's mostly guys that do this kind of stuff. Like, I would agree with that, and I'm a guy, right? It just is. And I don't like it. You know, like when I talk about things in history class, I'm like, you know, I don't see any 1 million woman armies, and I think that's a good thing. I'm not talking shit, but I'm like, these dudes for like thousands of years are just going out and just killing the shit out of each other. Yeah. And I'm like, and the women were literally running everything. Yeah. It's like, now women are in the armed forces. Like, what are we going to do next time we go off to war and nobody's here to run things? Yeah. Like, but it's just like, it's very interesting to me that just in the ancient record, 5,000 years of history, there's no woman armies. Yeah. Is that interesting?
It is. It is. I
think it's a good thing. I'm like, well, yeah, because like, what are these dudes doing, killing each other? They need to calm down, you know? Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I get back and forth on that issue in particular, because I don't know, because if I got drafted, like, I know I'd serve, but I know I'd suck too. So like, I don't know.
I don't even want to get into that on the podcast.
Okay, already.
I'm rather, I don't want to say unpatriotic, but
I mean, I would rather not have war at all, but
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
where I'm at. And then
Yeah.
two, it would be difficult to talk me into. I would fight to protect my family, right?
Right.
But yeah.
Well, we don't have to talk about it. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know
I
how we
don't
got
want to
there.
go to war. Anyway, so anything else that stands out about the story you want to throw in before we wrap it up? Just use this platform to say anything you want to say without censorship. I want to edit it out.
I think that's about it. Those were the most standout things to me. And do you want to say that anything I've said here that was an opinion is strictly mine and wouldn't reflect me as a journalist? But
Well, and we didn't talk about anything that isn't Googleable.
yeah,
That's a word.
yeah,
Googleable.
Googleable. Yeah, it works.
It does.
So
As we discussed earlier, some people are not able to Google. That is the opposite.
yeah.
Right.
Well, the funny thing is that we have all this access to information, and people are stupid with it.
Oh, that's it. Exactly the joke I was making. And it too, like Corey and I were talking about this yesterday. Isn't it like you meet people that are just crude, like
Yeah.
crude individuals?
That makes sense.
And this is not a universal. They're outliers. Again, just like all the other stuff we're talking about. But you meet these crude individuals, and they're almost always uneducated.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that you don't meet highly educated people that are super crude. You do. I have.
Right.
I have. I've worked in an office with one. And then it's not to say that you wouldn't meet super sophisticated people
Yeah.
that have no education. You would. But there is a tighter correlation between a lack of education and just like poor manners, sharing of fake news,
Yeah.
false opinions, like an opinion that's rooted in myth. Like all of that discussion I was like bringing up about slavery in Arkansas because I've been talking about that, but also I've been talking about a lot of the myths about African American slavery in the United States and the myths about slavery in the modern era period.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting topic.
It is.
Did you see the podcast I released yesterday with Dr. Jones from Tech?
I did see that.
It's super good. She's got a couple of good talks on YouTube too.
Okay.
She's like she is the expert on the
She
topic.
is.
Like she's like the leading on that topic, slavery in Arkansas. She's the leading historian in the state.
That's neat.
Yeah, and she's only like 35 or 37 or something like that. But this nobody like. There's been a few small master's theses here, but in a couple of books. There's one. Negro Slavery in Arkansas by Taylor. There's that one. But she's got a book coming out next spring, and it's going to be the definitive work. Like that's
Right.
what Dr. DeBlack. That's what he had to say about it. He's read the manuscript. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That'll be neat.
It will, and that's super important things to. Those are super important things to be learning more about right now, and why I got a podcast coming out on beer and racism. Right,
Nice.
it's like it goes into like why people of color ended up drinking malt liquor over beer, and
That's interesting.
well, think about this, like. Post-prohibition, before prohibition doesn't really matter. You have racial segregation. Like white people are not going to be going to bars or allowed in bars, right? So it's to Dr. Nate Chapman over at ATU in behavioral sciences.
I was wondering if that was who you're
yeah.
interviewing. I had him for my history class like 4 years ago. He's cool. He's a cool dude.
He's super cool. I'm gonna, he's the drummer for Black Sabbatical, the band.
All right. I thought I saw him as
Yeah.
a drummer or something, but I wasn't sure. But
So well, and then two, so
Cool.
like two of them are historians and one of them's an art professor.
yeah.
And I'm gonna have all of them on the podcast eventually.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I got some good episodes coming up, and I've got several I recorded. I just need to release one after we wrap it up here today. So we'll do a
Okay.
little editing. Well, buddy, thanks for coming on. Hopefully that you stay involved with the news or journalism if that's
Yeah.
what you want to do.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, especially since I was so awkward last time. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's fine. Was that your first podcast last
yes,
time?
I left and I was like, that was the most boring conversation he ever had.
No, I've had this. I joke about it. I had this guy on that's super smart. Like, he's
Yeah.
a PhD, but he didn't really get what we were doing. Like, that it's just like a conversation. And like, I might say the F word a few times or whatever.
Yeah.
But he was just like. He didn't do that, but metaphorically, this is what was going on.
Like that was his thought
like,
process.
People that had him as a professor were like, man, I really wish that dude would have opened up more. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, I talked to this dude in his office and moved to tears sometimes. And then I get him on, and he's like, and I'm like, what is consciousness? and he's like, he's gone into these deep answers with me before, and he's like, well, consciousness is it was just, but see, that's what I'm saying though, is like we're in a weird transitional phase for media where like there's a whole sect of people that don't get what we're doing in here right now. There's a whole demographic of people, and it's a big demographic. They're like sometimes when I ask certain people of a certain age to come on, they're like, what's a podcast? I'm like, you never heard of Joe Rogan's podcast? Like, that's the first thing I say to them, and they're like, who's Joe Rogan? Like some people will say that, and I'm like, but too, like, this is the new documentary. Think about when documentaries first started becoming a real big thing, and like now, like there's so many on YouTube, and there's so many on Amazon Prime, and like so many on PBS. Like, there's so many documentaries even on Arkansas history. But it's like, we're moving to a way of telling stories differently.
Yes.
And as a person who tells stories for a living about how to kill people with martial arts techniques and about what happened in the past, that's what I think. I think we're just going to be telling the story differently. Like, we went from cuneiform to podcasting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and then, you think back in the day, there were all these radio programs that people were just dialed in. So it's kind of neat that even though this is pretty progressive, like creative story, it's still kind of the same thing as, what was...
Do they have a history of digital media class or anything like that at Tech?
I don't think I've taken it.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote my senior, and when I was in senior in high school paper, when it was on a floppy disk. I saved it on floppy disk. And floppy disks were just starting to not be a thing anymore. Do you remember floppy disk?
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I've ever used one.
Yeah, but I wrote it on the history of film, right? But film, television, radio, like the whole transition of like photography into like something like podcasting. That's a fascinating topic. Like that's a master's thesis or a dissertation topic for sure.
Yeah, it is pretty neat.
Yeah. Do you think you'll do any freelance writing or anything like that?
Well, I am a freelancer for About the River Valley. I mean, you interviewed the editor I work with, Johnny.
Johnny, yeah. He's cool.
He is cool. So I would like to do that, but I don't know. I'm really open to a lot of different things I'd love to learn. So I'll do whatever.
I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my blog. I think about it often. I know how to post to it. I've never known how to post to my own blog. And I just I want to do it, but I have some ideas about how to do it, but I just am not doing it because I'm doing a bunch of other stuff. I need to spin it off this other stuff I'm doing. Like, I need to, oh man, I'm super inspired by this Joseph in Egypt story over here, Egyptology. Yeah. But I just haven't.
Yeah.
It's just something else to do, and I need to level up a couple of more steps before I take something else on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But it'll be neat once you come out with it.
Once I get my art on the wall in here and fix those shelves that are crooked on that fridge.
Yeah.
We'll be good. Also, you see those tapestries over there?
Yes.
You see on the other side of that TV those burgundy foam that's like a package, plastic package.
I see it.
So I'm making those into acoustic panels. Because I've had live music in here twice now. Ryan Harmon played in here the other day. But it'll be more it'll be draped over a picture frame, and I'll have foam behind it, and I can move them around if I want. But acoustic panels for it'll make the sound in here when we're playing music better. And the sound in here is already really good, surprisingly, but it'll make it even better. I'm excited about it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. If
Alrighty.
you
Sure
know,
thing.
if you have any cool stories you want to come back and share ever,
Okay.
let me know.
Alrighty. I'll let you know.
Always like having a good conversation.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Sign
you.
off.